The men's triple threat match at WrestleMania just featured another game-changing twist, so we'll see what's new there. We'll also check out what's going on with Jey Uso and more. Starting things off with the latest developments for the Seth Rollins, CM Punk, and Roman Reigns match at WrestleMania 41, because things are moving fast here. We thought Roman Reigns and Paul Heyman would make potentially their last entrance together at WrestleMania 41, under the assumption that Paul Heyman betrays Roman. But the favor that CM Punk wants Paul Heyman in his corner for WrestleMania 41. Roman and Heyman will no longer be walking down the ramp together at WrestleMania. Paul Heyman will be making his entrance alongside CM Punk for the WrestleMania main event. So technically, from the moment that Paul Heyman accepted Punk's favor, he's distanced himself from Roman. Roman Reigns will be appearing on the April 14th edition of Raw, and they already made it clear that Roman will be alone, that Paul Heyman will not be with him for this appearance. So that's a big deal. Outside of Heyman briefly leaving Roman's side during the feud with Brock Lesnar, this will be the first time Roman Reigns is truly alone, without the guidance and counsel of Paul Heyman since March 2020. So really, for the first time in over 5 years, Roman is truly alone. How will he manage and deal with the fact that Paul Heyman is no longer there for him to turn to, no longer there at his side? You got to assume that it's going to take a while for Roman to get readjusted to that. It seems like the April 14th appearance from Roman will most definitely be a promo that's aimed towards Paul Heyman and this entire situation. So we should absolutely hear more about what's going through Roman's head during that appearance. But for the April 7th edition of Raw, lots of important things still happen for this storyline. Paul Heyman came out first to go deeper into detail about where he stands right now. He says he's loyal to his tribal chief, Roman Reigns, and loyal to his best friend, CM Punk. Heyman said that just because he's in one corner doesn't mean he's being disloyal to the other. But out came Seth Rollins to try to get into Paul Heyman's head and help him see the bigger picture. Seth said that Roman Reigns does not truly care for him and how he's only using Heyman to better himself. Seth's main example of this was how Roman disappeared after WrestleMania 40. Roman did not take Heyman with him and protect him. Instead, Roman left Heyman all alone with Solo Sikoa and the New Bloodline, and it was the most horrific thing Paul Heyman ever experienced. Not once did Roman Reigns call or even check in with him at all during that entire situation. Seth brought that to Paul Heyman's attention, and Heyman did acknowledge it. And then Seth Rollins said it was a similar situation with CM Punk. Paul Heyman asked Punk to do him a solid and join Roman's Survivor Series team, and CM Punk did not do it out of the kindness of his heart for a dear friend. Instead, Punk only did it in exchange for a big personal favor. So Rollins used this example to show Paul Heyman that Punk and Roman are not good, caring individuals, and how they just use him at every opportunity they can without ever truly looking out for him. And Seth Rollins may have some tainted and biased opinions towards CM Punk and Roman Reigns, but you can't argue with any of Seth's points that he made here about how Roman and Punk treat Paul Heyman. That was all valid and very true points, and food for thought for Paul Heyman. Seth then threatens to put his hands on Paul Heyman and slap him around, but CM Punk comes out to the rescue and brawls with Rollins. The big moment of the brawl came right at the end. After curb stomping CM Punk, Seth Rollins has a perfect opportunity to stomp Paul Heyman, but Seth shows Heyman mercy and decides not to stomp Heyman. Seth then gets on the microphone and says that Paul Heyman now owes him a favor. So the situation only deepens for Paul Heyman. And this was something that Seth did touch on in his promo. He said that all he had to do is take out Paul Heyman, and how that'll put Heyman on the shelf for a long time again, and how Heyman would miss WrestleMania 41. So Seth comes back moments after saying that, and he could have stomped Heyman right there. If Seth hits that stomp on Heyman, chances are Heyman misses WrestleMania 41 due to that injury from getting stomped. So Seth is treating the situation as if he truly spared Paul Heyman's life, and that's what Heyman now owes Seth for. The favor request from Seth Rollins did get some mixed reaction from the fans, because we just went through a 5-month-long wait to learn Punk's favor. So is this going to be another long and stretched out favor storyline for Seth? Maybe not. Maybe Seth will use this favor during the Night 1 main event itself, so it won't be that long of a wait to see this specific favor. Like we discussed during the previous breakdown, maybe there's a point where all three men are down and out, and Paul Heyman has the real power here to help someone get the upper hand and win the match. Maybe Heyman would want to help out Roman or Punk. But if Seth uses his favor, you got to assume that Heyman would have to help Seth win the match. This entire Raw segment is interesting and has changed the entire story, because prior to this edition of Raw, the Seth Rollins and Paul Heyman partnership theory was a nice theory that was more on the quiet side. But with Seth coming out and blasting Punk and Roman for their treatment of Paul Heyman, and now holding his own favor over Heyman's head, well, now the Seth Rollins and Paul Heyman partnership theory feels like it's in the center of the spotlight right now. So the Seth and Heyman direction went from being a sneaky potential big twist direction to it now being a realistic possibility that everyone can see. So that's an interesting story direction as well. They're no longer leaving Seth and Heyman as a big plot twist. It appears that they want you to consider that option as well and be well aware of it. So that's definitely strange as well. If they're making the Seth Rollins and Paul Heyman partnership seem a bit too obvious, it just makes you wonder if Triple H has another big hidden twist up his sleeve. That just appears how Triple H works. He likes to tease something and then pull the rug from under you with something completely unexpected. So the fact that he's slowly teasing Seth Rollins and Paul Heyman, well, that has us truly wondering if the real twist for night one is something even bigger than Seth and Heyman teaming up. But Heyman's decision, Seth's favor, and the mysterious big twist, these are all things we should definitely expect to see during the night one main event itself. So expect a lot of reveals to be made during the closing moments of night one of WrestleMania 41. The April 7th edition of Raw also featured Jey Uso putting a temporary cancellation to his entire Yeet act. Jey Uso came out to confront Gunther for what he did to Jimmy the week prior. Jey made his entrance through the crowd as usual. He was dressed in all plain black clothing with no Yeet merchandise at all. And even as Jey walked down the stairways of the arena, he did not deliver one single Yeet at all. Reason being that this was not the usual outgoing partying version of Jey Uso. He was dealing with the fact that his brother was laid out in the hospital bed because of Gunther. So Jey was not in the mood to do any yeeting, and understandably so. Jey stepped foot in the ring to pour his heart out about the personal situation and the conversation he had with his mother over the extent of Jimmy's injuries. And all the live fans in the arena were saying yeet after every single thing Jey was saying. And sure, you can view it as being supportive of Jey, but it's also a bit weird and disrespectful because the character is going deep and personal, and it's almost as if the crowd isn't listening to him and they just want to say yeet. There's even a few instances where Jey literally moves his arms, implying for the fans to knock it off and listen to what he's saying, instead of just saying yeet at the end of every sentence. The live crowd are going to do what they want. You can't control them. But someone who did face some criticism of not taking this Jey promo seriously was Pat McAfee. Right after Jey wrapped up his serious and personal promo, the camera cuts to the commentary table, and you see Michael Cole taking this situation serious and explaining how dangerous Jey looks to be. And Pat is just there yeeting on a night where yeeting did not really fit the story. So there were some fans saying that Pat should have been a bit more serious to further sell the intensity of Jey's words there. But what are your thoughts on today's stories? Leave your comments below. Don't forget to subscribe with all notifications on, and leave a like if you enjoyed. Thanks for watching, guys.